Grand Rising and good day. It's Shay Seeking, and this is not your mama's Bible study. I say that on this channel to say that we have an alternative view when it comes to the Bible. I don't worship the Bible. I don't think the Bible is anything spectacular, other than the fact that once you are able to wake up and see the heavy indoctrination and mind manipulation and miseducation that has been done in the name of religion to the masses of people, especially a certain group of people that are usually the outcast or the darker race people of a colonized uh, governing force or governing force. So when I'm saying that, I am saying that we remove religion and the church from the book. We treat it as any other study guide or book that you would be studying. Um, and we study it in a different way than his story in your indoctrinated educational system, by really going through delving into etymology and other forms of literature to come up with some all I would say alternative ways of looking at the book. So when people say that the Bible has enslaved us and it's the white man's book, every other book or tool that you use with your studies, most of them have come from white people. So again, think about that when you think about this. And I will have to tell you that they didn't have to change that much in the book, and they didn't have to really manipulate um, uh, anything in the book, because they had already indoctrinated the minds of the people, and the mind is the most terrible thing to waste. So before you even had a Bible to read to yourself, and that's so-called whites and blacks in Americas or anyone else, you had religion. Okay, so I like to look at the Bible and the text that's in it this, as the fact that the same book that they say or you think they used to enslave you will be the very same book that can free you with the right state of mind. Okay, now if you can understand that, we're not just reading the book amongst people that have an indoctrinated mindset in an enclosed space or a temple made by man's hands. We are using the one that's already within in order to interpret, along with other tools to take us to the true meaning of a lot of these terms in this book that you will never get in your religious institution. When it goes to history, we know that his story lied. So we use, again, the temple that we are in, and we use other tools to in order to interpret and to maybe just really take another look at some of the things that these people have been saying, because we know that the so-called American Negro are the so-called descendants that are now ascending of the American Indian or the Aboriginal people, meaning the first peoples of the Americas prior to colonization. Okay, so again, I'm not telling you what it is, what it ain't. I'm just telling you what it looked like to me. There could have been a form of white people here. I have read text that said that, and I don't care what anyone says. I am one that is going to speak what I've come across. I bring information. I am not here to make a conclusion for you. I am just here to bring out information that I think is very hidden, or people are not looking at it on that scale. Okay, so again, we just want to go ahead and bring out a couple of things and share them with you guys, and it's up to you to come to your to use discernment, wisdom, and knowledge to come up with your own, way of seeing it. Okay, so again, I don't speak hate speech against anybody. I am here because I am trying to free the minds of people, and let them know it's okay to come out of that religion. Because again, before you had a Bible, everyday so-called citizens of this land, before you ever got it in your hands, which would be the late 1800s, early 1900s, more like the early 1900s, okay? Before you could get one in your hands, okay? And let's just say this again, because there were so-called white slaves here, although the system would want to give us the perception as a devastating, never-ending mental clutch on the so-called Negro race, they don't bring up the fact about white slavery. Okay. Now, again, I think some of these people were treated the same, if not worse than us, because it's never been about your color. It has always been about your status. And we talk about the caste system here and how in disguise it is under the guise of slavery in the America, but it's still the same thing. We're in the caste system, and white people are at the bottom of the totem pole on that caste system, along with other indigenous, meaning people that sprung from the earth. Earth meaning in the Bible and in when we're talking about on this channel, is talking about the original or the first peoples that people, the archetype, the originals that people have used their tools in order to create sub races and other things. That is not to say anything bad about said people, because I know that this structure or this firmament of God or God that has been set up is against certain people. Okay, so that was a long thing to say. I just wanted to go ahead and get you an understanding. We are not looking at it the way that indoctrinated religious people are looking at it. We are tearing it apart. We are bringing out things that look as if though this God that you've been worshiping all this time does not care for you. He does not like you. You are not his chosen people, and you are in delusion if you still think so after going through this channel. So, in other channels like mine, okay? Because I'm not the only one, okay? And nobody's saying that this is factual information, but you have to rethink some things once you come across some of this information that we bring in here. So, let's go ahead and look into this whole thing here. Let's see. So this is a young man or a guy. I'll call him a guy. This is a guy that's going to make some 10-minute speech that we're going to listen to real quick. And then we're going to go ahead and speak on some of the things that he said. And then we're going to go ahead and read from Psalms 45, I think, through 47. I hope you guys are enjoying the content so far. If you don't mind, go ahead and hit the thumbs up if you like where this channel is going or the content on the channel. And let's go ahead and go into this.
Speaking to a white citizens council group in a fourth floor loft.
The argument simply does not hold that the white race, being a minority, rather being a majority in the United States, should turn over to a group of people only removed from slavery 80 years and only removed from the jungle by a few hundred years. Turn over to them the control of our entire civilization. The basis of common law is the custom of the people, and if the custom of the people in Anderson County is to keep the races separate, then the Supreme Court law doesn't mean anything. It doesn't.
John Casper on the Ku Klux Klan.
In 11 years, in every southern state, the segregation laws we are fighting for today were written, every one of them, by the Ku Klux Klan, which saved the South. And the men who stood face to face at Chickamauga, Braxton Bragg and General Thomas, if they didn't have a principle to fight and die for, if they said, well, we'll just let this thing go on, every single one of us here tonight would be mulattoes and not white. Every one of us.
John Casper on the people of the South.
They underestimated the intelligence and the resistance power of the mountain folk down here in Tennessee and Kentucky. They underestimated that. They thought, well, maybe they were dealing with a group of hillbillies, rednecks, crackers, but those are the real people of the United States. Make no mistake about it. And those hillbillies and crackers, as Billy Branham said, they're the purest white people living on the face of the earth anywhere, and the strongest. Among them are men who get on their knees and pray every Sunday, and they pray too. They pray hard. They believe in that Bible, and they believe in Jesus Christ.
Mr. Casper tells of his Clinton adventure.
When I was in Charlottesville, I saw a little piece in the Charlottesville paper which said that integration was a-coming in Tennessee. For the first time, the first school, Clinton High School. It happened to be just a day away. Now, I wanted to find out how the folks felt about it. I didn't think they were for it, but I didn't tell them anything about that. I just went door to door. I showed them a picture of a nigger soldiers kissing some white girl. You've probably all seen that picture. Army in the Fort McClellan, Alabama. Some say it's Germany. It doesn't make any difference. There's still niggers in American Army uniforms kissing white girls. Doesn't make any difference whether it's Germany or Alabama. It ain't done. It's wrong. Now, I showed them the picture, and I asked them if they knew about the niggers going into school the next day, and they said they knew about it, or they heard something about it, or they didn't hear about it. Some of them hadn't even heard about it. I asked them how they felt about that, and they said, I'm against it. What can we do about it? Nothing we can do about it. So I told them something about picketing and how labor unions operate. I told them to be down at the school the following day, or Monday morning, and I would be there with them, and we'd picket, and we'd discuss this thing with the local officials. We'd find out what, if anything, could be done about it.
John Casper on politicians.
What we are trying to do is regain local control of local affairs. And it is local government, local corruption that we must deal with first. You can hardly expect to have a choice between the hollow pumpkin and the hollow pumpkin on a pole who's in the White House now and the man who ran against him in the recent election, national election. Two men, both of them dedicated to stupidity and treachery, both of them. Doesn't mean a thing, either one of them. You compare them to the patron saint of the Republican or Democratic parties, Jefferson or Lincoln or any of those people, why these men are nothing. Our president today. They're just sworn enemies of the American Republic, sworn enemies of the Constitution. Do everything they can in their power to destroy it and have consistently for 35 years, each and every one of them.
John Casper on the Supreme Court.
The idea is clear, I think, in everybody's mind, that the right aim of law is to prevent coercion, either by force or by fraud. And the Supreme Court decision is precisely fraudulent, precisely coercive. But the Supreme Court is in there for life, and the whole federal judiciary is in there for life, and there's nothing you can do about it. And impeachment is silly. I mean, it's so hard to accomplish that it's probably easier to assassinate a man. Supreme Court, we know they're communists. We know that to combine 9 men in the Supreme Court don't make one good civil claims judge. But yet, on the other hand, combined, they make one of the most deadly communist, hydra-headed monsters we've ever known. But I'm absolutely confident we're going to destroy that, too. I say integration can be reversed. It can be stopped anywhere, provided an attack is made at every single level. That meetings of the county court are attended, that the constant self-same demands are made, that people keep hitting the judge who made the original ruling, that pressure, tremendous pressure, is brought to bear on that school principal, on the school board, on the local newspaper, or whoever it is that happens to be responsible. There's no sense any longer appealing to Senator so-and-so, or President, or the Supreme Court judge. It has got to be a pressure down here which is more or less like a lit stick of dynamite, and you throw it in their lap and let them catch it, and then they can do what they want with it. But let them worry about it.
At 9 o'clock on the morning of December 4, 1956, was conceivably the darkest hour of the worst day in Clinton's history. The Reverend Paul Turner, a Baptist, was beaten up after escorting 6 Negro youths to school.
Okay, so again, you guys see the information. Maybe I'll link it below. Racism, school, desegregation laws, civil rights movement in the United States. Okay, so even though he was saying that the United States citizens or whatever, but then when he went to talk about his people, he said that we are the real Americans. Okay, so he didn't call them citizens. He didn't call them, and he said we are the real Americans, and that they are the purest people, and they would have been mulattoes if it weren't for certain things. Okay, so I'm wondering about this. Okay, so again, we're going to go ahead and, well, I'll just keep this one up. So we're going to go ahead and, okay, we're going to go ahead and look at this. I'm going to say what I have to say about him, and then we're going to go ahead and read through the scripture. Now, he's talking about some, I pick up things from these things. I'm sure we all do. But what he said about they just came out the jungle not that long ago, out of slavery for 80 years. And I know that Africa has all different types of, or that continent has all kind of different, I guess, environments. But I'm just wondering if all of us supposedly came from West Africa. I'm trying to figure out where the jungle is in West Africa. So that would be something good to know. Maybe we can go ahead and look that up in a minute. But or I'm just trying to figure out if it's the jungle somewhere else, like in South America or something. Um, something of that nature. So let's see. And then again, the way that we were indoctrinated, they were indoctrinated. If you notice, when you hear about the civil rights and you hear about segregation, that the children were in some of these places, especially down south, there was poor so-called white and poor black. Okay, now they could have been here at the same time, but at some point in time, the Aboriginal people, okay, which are the oldest people that would have been on this continent or this landmass, and we're going to include so-called Negroes into that because they were here prior to colonization. If whether you want to look at it when we're talking about the early years of slavery, or if you want to look at it and the fact that I know that the slave trade was fabricated and that they never brought that many so-called Africans here. They only brought 250,000 during the entire thing. So for me knowing that and knowing that there is a documented information saying that there were people here already prior to even Columbus that had kinky hair and different textures of hair and really dark skin and really black skin. So by looking at that and not taking the general mainstream information that has been pushed into the schools to indoctrinate the minds of the people of this land for so long, okay? When you look outside that box, even when you go to college, you will not obtain this information because we are under a form of rule and a form of mass manipulation when it comes to what we think things are, and we have no idea. Okay, so again, let's go ahead and look at the fact that he didn't want to give up control to these people. A lot of people would say that some of these people were already in control and they were taken out by other disgusting forms by using propaganda to fuel the people or the so-called white people in order to harm the Aboriginals or those people. Okay, so let's see. Oh, and then him talking about separate and all this other stuff. For me, if I just want to be on a real level and not be biased or not be in my feelings, segregation was the worst thing that could have happened to us because we didn't segregate like equally. We didn't have our own things equally. Yes, maybe we can talk about commerce and some kind of businesses. And we were able to run our towns or whatever, but they were going to go ahead and finish doing what they were doing and with their governing force or their firmament that they had placed. Okay, so they were going to go ahead and do what they were going to do regardless. They had the military might behind them, and they even used some of your sons and daughters and of the other newcomers here in order to enforce that. So again, this is you here at the bottom, you Aboriginals, so-called Negroes that think you from Africa, when 90% of you or more were actually of the people that were already here in America, because every single landmass had a certain class or a group of Afro, okay, in the terms of darker skinned or aboriginals of darker skinned races with different hair textures and different different array of skin tones that were in places prior to or have been hidden away, such as India, such as China, such as all these other places. America is no different, and we still have Afro Latinos here. These are the people that did not mix these all the way, and now they're making it easier for us to do this. But again, these are those people. There's Afro Mexicans down in Mexico. There are so-called Negroes here that have been lied to, and they told you that you were from Africa. And again, we find out that they only brought 250,000 so-called Africans here during the entire slave trade. And we also find out that there was a slave trade that was already going on in the Americas, what I like to maybe call the American Indian or the Indian slave trade, okay, that went on longer, stronger than the transatlantic slave trade ever was, okay? So again, we're looking at this on a different level. Then we're talking about these mountainous peoples. Okay. So again, for us, it was devastating and we've never been able to recover from this. But they have had other things in their path, in their clutches to get us to stay where we are. Okay. Including calling slavery when it's really a caste system. And they say that this caste system is one of the oldest systems of slavery, and it was created by the God of creation. So you think about that, okay? It was created by the God of creation, okay? So let's go ahead, because the same way you see that your government doesn't really like people of color, you'll read in this text once you turn on your brain, okay, that the Bible is actually talking about the same thing, that some of these gods or this God did not like people, aboriginal people, okay, because again, it started off not being about your skin tone, it was about who you were and what land was yours, okay, resources, materials, and whatnot, okay. So let's keep on going. And then he said something about the laws were made 11 years ago by the KKK. Now, when the hell and who, then I would really no need to know what the hell the KKK is. Because I was given a different perception as to what this was. So if they are creating laws, I have some questions. Okay. And then he likes to honor the army and talk about these militant guys that were at Indian wars and all of these other people that he wanted to glorify and the founding fathers he wanted to glorify. It's really funny. It's really funny when we talk about the Addams family and them being some of the first families that came here. Okay, what happened? You know what I'm saying? Did they put some people in in these mountainous areas? Okay, because I think one of the books that I read said, yeah, when you go within, then you might find a stream of, and this is why I say check yourself when you're talking about rivers, streams, ocean, seas, and all this other stuff. Well, they don't say ocean. That's funny that they don't really say ocean that much. They use sea and waters and stuff like that instead. But again, the waters can be equivalent to talking about people that are aliens, immigrants, or people, foreigners. Okay. So again, get it? Foreigners. Okay, so let's keep on going. So he also says if they wouldn't have put forth the laws that they did put forth, then all of them would have been mulattoes. Okay, so then who are the real people then? Are the real people the mulatto, the so-called black people that you would have been mixing with? That somehow you guys were swooped up and sent to a protective place so that you can build in numbers. And again, he's saying it's a strong, they're from a part of the strongest, somewhat in my eyes, I'm getting purist, white race. And in that case, if these people are put up in the mountains with each other, and they're talking about pure race, then they have to be inbreeding. Okay. So, and this is the same thing that the people that have lost their damn minds that are at the top of this here infrastructure or establishment, okay, that are of bloodlines and have been doing this for a very long time. Okay. So let's see. And yeah, he's to talk about the mountainous people being pure and the real Americans, and they love their Bible. Now, you would have to wonder what type of teaching or reading of the Bible were they getting? Okay. So if so-called white people are supposed to be scared of some kind of judgment or something, it doesn't seem like this is the same type of teaching that he was getting. So are they getting the real interpretation without the indoctrination of what the Bible is saying, like we're trying to do here today, or what? Okay. So, and they love Jesus, not God. They love Jesus. Okay. very much. Okay, and they get down on their knees and they pray to him. Okay, and it says he's basically talking like, forget the government, we could do whatever we want to do. You know what I'm saying? They can't stop us. We got something. He's obviously feeling like he has some type of power, um, in some kind of sense. Um, he wants to start some type of grassroots thing by going door to door, and teaching these people how to riot and picket. And this seems like this is somebody that is coming to cause some kind of strife or some kind of chaos amongst poor peoples that are living fine together, and they see the difference of the system being on top of them. Although the darker people started to move down into this area, and then the so-called foreigners and the aliens were in this area, still it seemed as though they were living amongst each other in this way. But they would have protection and these people would not. Okay. So again, he wants to teach them and go door to door. And I think that that's something that we should actually do. I've been really thinking about this, creating some kind of flyers or something as a printable and having people come get the printable and start passing them out to people in their neighborhoods so that we can start getting these younger people involved in this. It's about establishing a sense of pride and a sense of belonging. You have to have some kind of ground or some kind of standing in order to now want to rise up in some type of way. And I think that to start getting this information out, whether we have to put a whole bunch of quotes that are saying this and pictures of indigenous people and pass these things out and bring them to one main hub. I wouldn't mind creating a page that we do this and just dump everything in, because we have to start not only documenting, because someone said we need to document these things. We need to document them, but we need to most of all document them into the minds of our children, because it doesn't matter if you have papers and all this other stuff. We've seen this in the past. It's great to have that, but we've also seen things taken out of context and manipulated and things like this that we thought we had documented. Okay. So again, he's honoring these forefathers like they're great. He's talking about the republic and the Constitution and the Supreme Court like it ain't nothing to him. And then he says that there's something about them being there, that they're there for life, and there's nothing that we can do about it. So again, what does he say about? Oh, and I said, forget about the local bull, because again, you can do what you want to do. You can spend your time doing that. I'm worrying about getting to the souls and the minds of the people, the heart of the people. Okay. Because then we can do whatever we want to do at that point. So, or demand things in a different way without marching and putting ourselves out there and being harm's way. Okay. So again, rather you go on the local, I've heard that before and it sounded okay. But again, unless this guy knows something that we don't know, it doesn't work for us on the local level. They may be able to go and stump their feet and pout and get something, but you don't even know who you are. They know who they are. Obviously, he's talking like someone of supreme something. Okay, so he knows who he is, but you don't know who you are. So you would have to be who you are in order to demand certain things. You can't be who you think you are and demand these things, if you get what I'm saying. Okay, this is what I get from it. I don't know. So I'm saying that no matter what, the whole system is corrupt. You can take a so-called hood or something and put a so-called black man that looks like you, and just because these people look like us don't mean that they are us. So you could take him and put him in these these positions of so-called power, and he still won't have any, because we're talking about the belly of the beast. Okay, we're talking about the origin. We're talking about the guts of the thing. Okay, and that is the whole governing force. Okay, so there will be no uh what was I gonna say? It doesn't matter if you do this, okay, because you're still gonna have to take orders from the people that are higher up. And then if we talk about, he said something about the head, the base head, hydra, or the no, he said the hydra head monster. Okay, and when he said hydra, that made me think about. Let's see, that made me think about something. Water for some reason. Oh, spelled that wrong. Okay. Hydra, name of many-headed. The door, please. Someone has the TV up so loud upstairs. So, name of the many-headed Lernian water serpent. Okay. Slain by whoever this her her Hercules. No, that's spelt differently. Greek mythology. Okay, late 1400s. Again, are we in the fourth day in Genesis? When we're talking about the 1400s, because that's the timeline that we use on this channel to open up Pandora's box and find some very amazing information that stems from looking at it in that way. Okay, so a water snake or water. Again, if he's saying that he is the real people, what he's trying. This sounds like an Aboriginal movement for so-called Europeans or white people. Okay, um, in my eyes, as to what he was saying, he kind of sounded like a Malcolm X of so-called Caucasian, uh, so-called ethnicity. Um, So again, when he's talking about this water serpent, and then he keeps talking about like this republic or whatever, I'm just wondering if he notices the fact that they're a foreign nation, and this is why he doesn't follow what they say. Okay, he's saying that he can do pretty much what he want to do, and this is why he's a man of lawlessness. He never really gets in trouble for these things that he stirs up or whatnot. Okay. And then it says the world, the word etymologically related to Sanskrit or the Udra. And that sounds a lot like Sudra. I know we're not talking about that, but it says aquatic animal. But again, you see this? This is what I'm talking about. These would be the animal, because the beast of the field and the fowl of the air is representing another race or nation or racial makeup or family line or sense of a entity of power or something of this sort. It's not talking about birds, and it's not talking about lions and stuff, unless you're talking about the lion that is on the coat of arms or the crest of the English throne, or the fowl of the air that is very symbolic to Germany and Spain and all these other places that supposedly in France and America that are here. You see what I'm saying? So that's very interesting. That he used these terms, and then now we're seeing it here when we look up this term here. That's very strange to me. So anyways, let's keep going. Use figuratively for any multiplicity of evil. So this is a whole thing of some evils, multi piling up, doing bad things. Or we can look at like us. One of the terms I've looked up here, sinning, and we were wondering what sinning actually is and where did it originate, and this term and everything. So the fabulous beast head, just kind of how like it says it's going to bruise your head, and then or I don't know if it said cut off thy head and bruise the heel, but I don't know, that's coming to mind right now too. But anyways, let's keep going. Fabulous beast heads were said to grow back double when it's cut off. Oh, okay. So, okay. A monster. We could just say Hercules. Hercules. That what it looked like to me. Slew. Or is it? We talking about the Cain and Abel kind of story. Anyways, 15th century. Are we in the fifth day? The fact that we're talking about these people as if we're talking about foreigners of water, snakes, aquatic animals, beasts, or whatever we're talking about here, makes me think that we are kind of like in the fifth day. Let me see if we can see anything that has anything to do with it. What was going on in the fifth day. So let's see. We're looking at Hydra something, and then it says the multiplicity of evil. So let's see what it says. Okay, so we're just gonna go here. Let God wait. Then God said, "Let us waters." Okay, so we're talking about this Hydra. Hey, wait a minute. Maybe we're on to something. Maybe we in the fifth day, y'all. Are we in the fourth and the fifth day? Because this, okay, well, let's see what was going on in the fourth day. Um, let's go with, before I get too excited. And God set them in the sky and to light the earth. Okay, to light the earth. He set them in the sky to light the earth. And I told you guys in the beginning, we're talking about separation in the first sentence of Genesis. You just don't know it's talking about you. You think we're talking about God hanging up the sun in the sky. Okay. Um, so it says, and to preside over the day. So to preside over the day. A preside is also means president. If you want to go ahead and look it up, the term is related here in etymology. Okay, so preside over the day and the night. So this is some law thing that's supposed to be going on within both. Okay, divide the light from the darkness. You see this? To divide the light from the darkness. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the same thing that he's talking about? Are we talking about amalgamation? Are we talking about laws to protect from this happening? After they got up their numbers and they wanted to now go ahead and preserve that so-called white uh, race? Are we also talking about the fact of now that you're done with the earth, let's just do what we want with them? The choice that you had, the few that you had left, supposedly. So, and to divide the light from the darkness. So now they're saying to divide the light, but now again, this is in Genesis, so I'm thinking could be up until about the 1700s until we go up into the New Testament. We might be talking about more recent history than you think, and more like I used to say, is it prophecy or plan? These are more plans, and if you have all the control and you have all of the information, and if you have all of the artifacts, you will be able to remain there, okay, until some Negroes start waking up and start asking some questions that you need to answer, okay, or we're gonna just do our own thing. Okay, so it says to divide the light from the darkness, and then we can go ahead and look, because I could have swore I did run across an amalgamation law from Maryland, I believe, that was put into place in the 1500s. Not the 1500s, but in the no, it might have been. It might have been. We'll have to go back and look at it. And then it goes in here to say to divide the light from the darkness. So at this point they were segregated. Now we talk about the 60s ish, 50s, 60s ish. So again, and he said that they have been the so-called people he was talking about, maybe black people, that they were just freed not that long ago. He wasn't really specific about who he was talking about. I can't remember, but he did say something about Negroes or niggers kissing white women. So it seems like this must be something that they were very concerned about. That all the work that they had done had been very messed up. And maybe this is what God said, that he was upset about the work that he created. And he just he was mad about creating the people upon the earth or whatever. So, hey, this is just a question of mine. So anyways, he wanted to separate the light from darkness. And this was in the, and he was pleased. Yeah, God was pleased from separating them. And again, hey, maybe this is what it was supposed to be. Maybe them, with all this propaganda making us think at some point in time that we needed to integrate was the big trick. Who knows? So I'm not like I said, I'm not saying that this all happened, but all these things stem from somewhere first, right? The thought, the process, actually enforcing it, getting the people to comply with it. It takes time, okay? So even if you want to say that the Bible was rewritten in 1611 by King James, still, this is around the time. If we in the fifth day, we in the fourth and fifth day, this only a couple hundred years apart from each other. So again, it says, then God said, let the waters teem up with the fish and the other life. Okay. What does this say? The aquatic animals. Okay, we're talking about aquatic animals here. When he see these keywords, they just send me somewhere. Okay, with the fish and other life. Okay, and let the skies be filled with birds of every kind. So let them be filled with the birds of every kind. Okay, and I told you that can include some of your Frederick Douglass, and and I'm not saying that we get a small portion unless you want to do some extra studies to find out more about these men. And whoever's writing a book about these men is also some so-called probably white. You see what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure that they have gone through the information before it was processed, even if it was a so-called black printing company. Do you see what I'm saying? Because they're not letting anything forth and going to push it to the masses in numbers that will be able to wake you up. Remember that. Okay. So again, I told you that foul of the air always brings me back to some of the people that could have came here that could have looked like you. Okay. So God created great sea animals, and then again, here we go talking about the aquatic animals. Okay, and every sort of fish and every kind of bird, and God looked at them with pleasure and blessed them all. He was happy about them. What did this guy say? Okay, so it says multiply and stock the oceans. Okay, he told them, and to the bird he said, let the numbers increase, fill the earth. And that ended the fifth day. Okay, so again, I'm trying to figure out what we're talking about here. Hydras, a fabulous water serpent, 1660. Are we in the sixth day? A water snake, the constellations. I'm pretty sure some of this could tie into it as well. Okay. Ptolemy, the list in 1610 again. Europeans began to explore the southern hemisphere. So water, wet. I was thinking Wednesday. Okay. Hypothetical source of evidence for its existence is provided by the Hittite water. Now, who are the Hittites? I thought those Hittites were from Africa. I always look at them as the smaller physique. Some with kinky hair, some without. Shorter people from certain parts. But again, I don't know. Let's see. The water. Because again, you guys know what I feel about Noah's flood is definitely talking about a flood of immigrants on the earth, which is you. And this happened all over the world. Okay, because if we began with darker race people and they're being cast aside or outcast or undesirables or untouchables or the Dalit people or the bottom people, the bottom feeders, okay, then that could be what we're talking about. Okay. And then many-headed, okay, having many heads on one body, and a body could be, we're talking about the body of Christ. Could you be talking about the body, or are you talking about the body of the people that are in the institution, or in the church, or whatever you might want to call it? Again, let's see, apparatus for drawing water from a street main. Again, hydrants, drawing water. We talk a lot about drawing water from streams and all this stuff in here. Let's see, branch of engineering. Okay, hydration, hydrate. And then how we go right here, hydrate, 1812. We all know that the 1800s, mid and late, were huge for bringing people over here, immigrants or aliens or people from foreigners or whatever. And then we can look at this too as in being a flood, a form of a flood, okay, something like Noah's flood. But I'm thinking Noah's flood might have happened literally with people, okay, what I'm talking about. A little at some point in time, it could have been earlier. We look at the antediluvian times, and it says we're talking about a time around Noah's flood, okay. So to restore or replenish, we can use replenish because God wanted them to replenish and subdue the earth. Cultivate the land. What did you do when you cultivating or getting the land prepared for that you could plant your seeds? Did they come here and plant their seeds? You just keep on. I mean, just tell me where we can stop. So water plus 8. I don't know. Again, pertaining to fluids in motion. Okay, 1600s. What was going on in the sixth day? Oh yeah. So yeah, more bringing forth, but more of cattle and stuff like this time, or chattel, and blessing them and multiplying the fish and the birds and all the animals and giving them seed bearing plants. Again, what did we just talk about? Planting seeds. You really talking about they talking about the ground in this Bible? You really think you be talking about the ground? We talking about the people, the earth? I mean, just wake up. I mean, I wish somebody would. plants throughout the earth and all the fruit trees. And again, fruit, we talk about fruit. Fruit can mean produce, or it can mean we could be talking about something else when we're talking about fruit, because I know y'all don't think that we talking about no apple still, which it never even said apple when we're talking about Genesis and this fruit. Okay. Yeah, then God looked over everything he had made and he was happy with this. Okay, so let's go back to where we were initially, if I can even find it now again here. Okay, so I was just trying to point out how this kind of works. Okay, and again, I ain't here to tell you anything. I'm just bringing forth something that just kind of make a little bit more sense than what religious has taught us. And you just gotta hope and pray and have faith. And what I'm saying, I'm dealing with a sense of knowing that something is not right, and knowing that this is the proper way to at least break the ice and try to get a better understanding and overstanding on what we're talking about. Okay, with the gifts that have been given to you that you have put on the back burner because you want to give everything to the Jesus and the God that they created for you, knowing good and well when they created it for you that it would be a way that you would be in this endless pit of being down and not having any faith in yourself and being a tattered people and a broken people. And it's time to get up from that. It's time to just get up from it. Okay, so again, let's go ahead and finish reading what I wanted to read originally. And it is, we are going to read from the Living Bible and the King James. Well, you know what? Let's just do it from the Living Bible. Okay, and I'll just kind of go. Um, let's see. Richest people will, because most people read the King James and stay there anyways. Okay. Will shower you with gifts and in treatment of your favor. The people of Tyre, the richest people of our day, will shower you with gifts and entreat your favors. The bride, a princess, waits within her chambers, robed with. Okay, so this is not what we want to talk about. What a joyful, glad procession of. They enter the palace gates. Okay, those pearly gates. And then it's funny how we got Jacob's ladder and so many Freemason images. I believe one with Washington, if not, I can't remember what president it was, but that's funny about that. And I think they even have some kind of, you know, we'll look at it in a minute. Your sons will someday be kings like their fathers. They shall sit on thrones around the world. I will cause your names to be honored in the generations. The nations of the earth will praise you forever. That's kind of deep. That's kind of deep. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and cut this one, and I'm going to go ahead and come back with part 2. I hope you guys enjoy the content. If you have something that you would like to go ahead and put down in the description, in the comments or whatever, that you would like me to look further into that we're talking about on this, go ahead and let me know. But anyhow, I'll be right back with part 2. So thanks for watching, and take care.